Still smiling, everyone. Still smiling. It may be, 2 days on from Saturday. I don't think I've stopped smiling over the last 48 hours. It's a glorious time to be a Celtic supporter. Tony, how are you?
Like you, buzzing, smiling. Can't wait for Wednesday now. Roll on Wednesday. Just to put the seal on it, I think. There you
Ryan?
go.
Yeah, I'm more delighted than I was at full time, to be honest. I've let it sink in just that wee bit more. I was more relieved at full time that Celtic got the job done. It was backs to the wall at the end. Although Rangers weren't really threatening, it was more the thought of them threatening and then getting forward that was the worry. But yeah, I think we've had a couple of days to think about it now. All full steam ahead to Wednesday to Rugby Park. Hopefully, if it isn't already secured, then it will be secured at Rugby Park. I can't think of a better way to go full circle than at a ground that Celtic have lost twice at this season. Right that wrong, get the win and get the title in the back.
I always think it's funny how these things work out, and it always seems to be either Tannadice or Rugby Park. Whenever we go on the road, that's where we tend to seal the title. Some great memories at Rugby Park and real similarities to 2 years ago, with it being the penultimate game of the season midweek. I think we only needed a point we did only need a point at Tannadice that night to win the league. It's the same this Wednesday. Tony, it's weird the way things work themselves out.
Yeah, I think Rugby Park's the place we've won it out by Celtic Park the most. I think 4 is we've won it at Rugby Park. So yeah, and it's a similar situation. I was there that night when Georges Giakoumakis buried that header. It was a great feeling, just actually being there and writing about it. But yeah, somebody might correct me, but I'm sure it's at Rugby Park's out with Celtic Park. I think we've won it 21, 22 times at Celtic Park and 4 at Rugby Park. And I think a couple at Tannadice as well, 2 or 3 at Tannadice. In fact, 3 off the top of my head that I can remember at Tannadice. So yeah, but no, it's great, and it's kind of football karma, isn't it? We know how we felt on that first defeat that we got of the season at Rugby Park, and you just think, and like Ryan said, I don't see any impediment now. I think Celtic will finish the season, certainly the league season, with 2 wins. I wouldn't surprise me if they finished the season with 3 wins and completed the League and Scottish Cup double. Just think the boys are on it now. And I think the anxiety on Saturday, because of the scoreline 2-1, but see, when you look, there's a clip on, somebody put it up on Twitter. I counted 13 chances that Celtic had to score from the opening 30 seconds.
Big chances.
Big chances, Hamish, massive chances. So the anxiety came from the crowd because it was only 2-1. And I think that transmitted to the players. But that was as comfortable a 2-1 as you're ever going to see. Rangers had 1 shot on target, Desser's goal. Joe Hart didn't have a save to make. So, in a cold light of day, it's good to look back at it, but it doesn't feel like that at the time, does it? It feels a lot closer. And Celtic's susceptibility to cross balls, that kind of stuff. So I think that was in your head. All it needs is a cross ball, a deflection, something. But, it never materialised.
Off the top of my head, you've got the 2 goals. You've got a missed penalty. You've got Ida's 2 huge chances.
Yep.
I mean, that's 5 right there. You've got the numerous shots we had in the first half that were really good chances. O'Reilly's free kick just passed. McGregor had a shot just past. O'Reilly had another shot just before his goal that went just past. Kyogo had that one really close in where if he goes either side of Butland, he scores. We had the one inside the first minute. That's about, as you say, that's like 10, 11, 12 really big chances. And Rangers had... Yes, Rangers had 1 shot on target in the whole game, and they had a couple of chances for Fabio Silva in the first half. It was 2-1, flatters them so much. So it could have easily been another one of those 5-1s. And I actually think the level of performance was as good as those kind of games. I thought Celtic in the first half in particular were sensational. We'll come on and talk about this. First of all, a wee sponsor. Shout out for MPH Boilers and Weissman. A big thanks to them for sponsoring this video. If you're in need of a boiler right now, go to MPH and Weissman. You'll get a free internet controller and your first year service for free. It's your big chance to get world-class engineering with local expert service. Links are in the description. And also got this, Ryan.
Yep. Now I said that our last offer was our best ever offer, but I think this takes the cake ever so slightly. Before I advertise this offer that we've got, may I just say that if you are already subscribed to the website, then you're automatically entered into this draw to win at lunch with a Celtic legend. It's Martin O'Neill, a legendary manager. You know, Brendan Rodgers is trying to walk in his footsteps, an incredible manager back in the day. 6 months of access for £1, plus you could win lunch with Martin O'Neill. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. If you subscribe now, you'll be you will get access to the site until the middle of November, so nearly midway into next season. Only £1, 6 months, and you'll get entered into this incredible prize to have lunch with a Celtic legend.
Indeed, we've already spoken about that, Tony. It's a pretty appealing offer. I don't think he was there last night, was he, at the Player of the Year Awards, Martin O'Neill, or was he? No?
I don't think he was, no. I haven't seen any footage of him. Saw lots of footage from others being there. Gordon Strachan was in great form. He was an excellent sparkling form. I really liked Chris Sutton. Yeah. I mean, all the clips you've seen on social media doing the rounds have been excellent. Obviously, the King of Kings, who was just very emotional about it all, and Joe Hart as well. But I wanted to bring up something about Saturday that we kind of never mentioned, kind of lost in the vortex of it all, but Cameron Carter-Vickers' pass to Maida and the control, seriously. And it's even a bit before that when Matt O'Reilly flicks the ball. It's a wee kind of nonchalant dink, and then it's worked its way back. And my goodness, I've just kind of, you know how things kind of, not, they don't pass you by, but you get lost in the vortex of everything else that went on. But my goodness, what a pass that is. That's Ronald Koeman-esque. And the take from Maida is brilliant. And then, and then what happens after it? What he did, that's what I mean when, like, Maida's a Forrest Gump. You just don't know what you're going to get. Because I've never seen Maida celebrate like that either. And he just takes off, and he just loses it, and you're just thinking, this is it's from the moment that move starts to the end, what happens, it's just a brilliant moment in sport. And it will be replayed and set to music. Somebody will put it to music, but
they already honestly have. That's the best bit of media this weekend, is them to Ness and Dorma. Honestly, Maida jumping into the crowd is the best bit of media I've watched this weekend. It was incredible.
I haven't seen that, so that's brilliant. I'll need to check that out. But, you know, it's just cracking, you know, and obviously I think everybody, you know, with John Lundstrom and all that, you know, you're no staring now, that kind of stuff, you know, so there you have it. But
great finish.
I generally don't know what he's trying to do, but listen, it's just, I have to give, you know, Cameron Carter-Vickers praise, because he shelled that, like, 50-yard diagonal, and Maida's first touch is just, you know, and that's when you say to yourself, you know, he goes from world beater to panel beater, doesn't he? That's the old phrase, isn't it? You know, in the blinking of an eye at times, but we love him to bits, and the celebration's brilliant. That will live long in the memory. Tremendous stuff.
Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, yeah, the touch from Maida was incredible, but it wasn't like it was like a proper searching pass from Carter-Vickers. It wasn't like one of those kind of up loopy ones. It was like a proper kind of in behind the defence. It was like a pass that O'Reilly or McGregor or Hatate would be buzzing with.
Yeah. I just just give me any opportunity to talk about Cameron Carter-Vickers. I think he's every bit as good as what Virgil van Dijk was for Celtic. Different eras, I get that, and I know
for
Van Dijk
Celtic,
wasn't playing. Yeah, against. I think he's more important for Celtic than Virgil van Dijk was, even though he was a world beater from day one at Celtic. He is. It's just expected that he's going to get an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 every single week. If he's fit, Celtic win games. Look at the record. He's been fit. Cal McGregor is now fully fit. Hatate, O'Reilly, etc. Kyogo, they're all fit. Celtic are winning games. That's the correlation between the two. If Celtic's best players are fit, Celtic win football matches, and that's what they've been doing.
I just wanted to chat about the first goal as well, just briefly. Tweeted about this about half an hour ago. I don't know if you guys have had the chance to rewatch the game or to rewatch that first goal in its entirety. I don't know why people aren't talking about this more. So 34 minutes and 3 seconds, James Tavernier gives the ball away. You may remember it. Greg Taylor kind of gives the ball away initially. Tavernier's onto it, and he plays a really loose pass, a terrible pass. A Rangers player doesn't touch the ball again before the goal. I think 43 seconds later. Sorry, Tavernier gives the ball to O'Reilly, so the attack starts with O'Reilly. 14 passes, 8 players are involved. Only Hart, Scales, and Maida don't touch the ball. So 8 players are involved, and as I say, 43 seconds later, O'Reilly smashes it past Butland. Honestly, like, if there's a way people watching this are able to go back and watch the game, or even just this full goal, as I say, 43 seconds, do it. For me, it's goal of the season. It's the best goal we've scored all season. It's the best goal we've scored in one of these derbies in terms of, a team goal in years. And the point I would make is, I loved Ange Postecoglou, but if a Postecoglou team had done this, people would be raving about it. Because it's Brendan Rodgers, it's maybe just not quite as popular. Brendan Rodgers teams play really good football, and we saw that on Saturday. As I say, that performance on Saturday was as good as anything we've had in the past 2 seasons, in the first half certainly.
I've been banging on about this all season. See, if you listen to the manager and listen to what he was saying, we've had several key players out injured at critical junctures of this season. We've soldiered on, it's not been pretty, but the manager told us, see, when I get all these guys back and they do what I ask them to do, that's what they'll produce. And that's exactly what he said, and that's exactly what they did. That's all the have fun comments and all that. We'll write our own story, because he knew what he had in that dressing room. He knew, he watches them every week at training, and he was probably praying that he could get that team out on the park for long spells this season, because that's what they can do. They can play good football, Hamish. I totally agree. And the first thing I thought of when O'Reilly stroked it in was the Stuart Armstrong goal.
Yeah.
And the finish was similar. Somebody clipped the 2 of them up, and that went through my mind. But I watched it again and I thought, nah, it's a better goal than Stuart Armstrong's goal.
Oh, yeah.
The finishes are similar, but it's a beautifully constructed goal. Like, you've just deconstructed it there and told us all about it. But yeah, I agree. It's a fantastic football goal, but it's what the manager's always had at his disposal, and it's no surprise that he knew. As I said before, and I make no bones about saying it and bringing it up. After that 3-each game at Ibrox, he sat there in that media room and he said, "We're coming alive. I know what I've got. We're a better football team than you. We will prove it down the stretch." That was the subtext to, we played a better football, and this is when this club comes alive. He was just saying, he was marking his territory and saying, didn't win today, we were unlucky. We're a Matondo goal away from completing a green and whitewash in the league over them this season, Hamish. An injury
Last minute goal.
An injury time Matondo Worldy. And that's the difference between the 2 teams, and the difference between the 2 managers is this guy can win when it matters. And his record in derby games is utterly astonishing. It's a 75% win rate, isn't it? It's astonishing. And I wrote a piece yesterday, and I'll flick it up for those of you who haven't read it. And I'm just delighted that I managed to get the word Stradivarius into that. So I can hang up the pen, but you'll get the gist of it.
How many points in Scrabble do you get for that?
You'll get the gist of it by the word Stradivarius if you want to have a read at that. Talking about violins et al. But yeah, just the way Brendan Rodgers has played it down the stretch, it's been textbook. And also, I've kind of signposted it myself and saying, if you're listening, you're learning and you'll know. And we've called it completely what's happened. I've been steadfast in my approach towards Brendan Rodgers. People were saying sack him after the Hearts defeat at Christmas. I wrote a piece that I get a wee bit of abuse and stick for, saying he's still the man. And people were saying I was saying it because he was my friend and he name-checked me in press conference. It wasn't anything to do with that. I just think he's an elite level manager and he's proved it down this stretch. People
were certainly doubting that at one stage this season. Some people, and Rodgers has had plenty to say about it. I want to come on to that in a wee second. Just first of all, we're hearing the stuff from across the city about them losing the league rather than us winning. It's total nonsense, guys, isn't it? Celtic have won this league by beating them 3 times out of 4. And even, they talk about the Ross County and the Dundee games, and while they had a big effect, had they won both of those games, guys, they'd still be a point behind us. at the moment. So it's nonsense, Ryan.
Yep. If you listen to what certain sectors say, then Celtic have never won a league title fairly or justly in their entire history, whether it's Rangers not being in the league, Rangers not putting up a fight in the league, Rangers dropping points rather than Celtic winning the league of their own accord. At some point, you've just got to realise that Celtic deserve this league title because they've been the better team over the course of the season. And I think it's been mental battles as well. Brendan Rodgers has won those mental battles, and you've seen cracks on the other side of the city when the pressure was cranked up. You've seen that against Ross County. You've seen that against Dundee. Celtic came alive. Rangers faltered, and that's the reason why Celtic will be champions, maybe even tomorrow, if Rangers falter again. And you wouldn't put that past them, considering they've been faltering, it seems, quite a bit over the past few months.
I hope they win tomorrow. I just want to say that. It's something you'll never, ever hear me say again in my life, probably. But I want to win it ourselves on Wednesday. So Brendan Rodgers comments, Tony, after the game, I have been treated like a novice since I've come back here, like it's my first job. You predicted that he was going to unleash and unload after... well, we've not even won the league yet, but we saw it coming. And he's right, isn't he? Some of this stuff, even from some Celtic fans, I think mainly from the media, but maybe some Celtic fans have bought into some of this. And he's right to kind of have a go back.
Of course. This guy had nothing to prove. Absolutely nothing, Hamish. And I've said it in that piece. You know, he's got skin in the game because he's grafted hard to earn that skin in the game. And certainly in this country, he deserved a lot better respect, didn't he? From some of his own brethren, by the way. I firmly believe that, and I'm behind you on that one. And I told you when he's in as unassailable a position as possible, isn't it? They will get that point to clinch the title. But from last June, he said, for those who doubt me, I'll see you in May. He wasn't arrogant, he wasn't overconfident. A man who was comfortable in his own skin. He's a born winner. He's a natural leader. And he's shown that. And I think lots of people kind of forgot that just because some of the football wasn't pretty. Yeah, we know that. But that's not his team. He's working with the guts of Angie's football team, isn't he? The guys who are also serial winners. You know what I mean? So, not bad for a novice. I think you'll find, the boy did good, as you say. But you don't see these things to be smart or wise after the event. You're calling it as you see it, and I knew he would have something to say because he was signposting all during the season. You know, things where people were saying he was just storing it all up. You know, there's this narrative written about my group and my players that were disjointed and disconnected. We'll write our own story. Sorry, Ryan, and you come.
He keeps receipts, Brendan Rodgers. He keeps receipts for times like this, and he's definitely he definitely keeps an eye on what people are saying in the media. I think it was Chris Sutton that he was talking about with regard to the novice, novice comment, but the
going through the
motions. Now, I know that both of them were at the Hydro last night, so I wonder if they had a quick chat or a gab about those comments. If they bumped into each other, I'm sure it would have been quite civil between the two.
A lot of people were saying it at the start.
I was saying it. I said it. I'm quite happy to say that I was wrong, or not wrong, but I think that he has managed to turn it round, because somebody in the comments did say that, you know, they didn't play well for a lot of the season. That is true. You know, they've not been at their scintillating best. They've been known for a wee bit of I would say, an Ange hangover this season. It's difficult to go from one manager to the next when Postecoglou was so set in his ways. Maybe them getting a bit of leeway from a new manager was different. You know, having players that are so used to being regimented and authoritative in their manager. You know, Kyogo's probably never worked under a manager like Brendan Rodgers does in Maeda. They're giving a wee bit more leeway. I think Hatate as well, although Hatate seems to be getting a bit of stick for giving away the ball too much. He was allowed to take more risks under Postecoglou probably than under Rodgers. That's something that he needs to just deal with. But yeah, he keeps receipts. He's kept receipts this season, and now he's earning it. And I think he's got every right to. I did say that I thought he was going through the motions ever so slightly, but I think since the turn of the year, he has been so laser focused, so on point, and it's his mind game, not mind games, but maybe not mental stability either, mental game that he's got, that mental strength that he's got, that's steered Celtic over the line. He's taken all the pressure off of them, allowed them to go and play their football, and they've been playing some of their best football in recent weeks. It's no surprise that Celtic are where they are at the moment. It's because they've saved up their best, or some of their best football, for the business end, and it's so great to see.
Hamish, it's been textbook from the moment he uttered the words, "We're going to have fun," and in the most important game of the season, Clermont over the other side of the city, and goodness only knows why, only he can explain, he bit down on it and came away with all that gladiator guff on Friday. And, the thumbs up and the thumbs down, but at least we won't get killed in the arena. Brendan Rodgers sat there on Friday and said, our measure is us. Never mentioned Rangers once. You only mentioned Rangers in reference to the actual games. He said he loved it. But he said our measure is us. And he's been, it's utterly brilliant management. He said the other week that he does everything he can to take the pressure off the players. He takes it on his shoulders so that the players have nothing else to worry about other than going out and playing. And he knew fine well, if they went out and played on Saturday and turned up, like we all said all week, they would win that football match. And that's exactly what happened. But he's played everybody like, as I say, the proverbial Stradivarius. And he deserves his moment because he has put up with a lot off the field and on the field as well, with injured players that were brought in the summer recruitment that were substandard. And he's had all sorts of things to deal with, and somehow he's managed to negotiate his way through it. And I've said it and I've stressed it many times, the biggest asset we had in this title run-in was the manager, and he's prevailed.
Yeah, for me, there's three big things he's been dealing with this year. Injuries. Virtually every key player, I think bar maybe Kyogo and Joe Hart, everyone else has been missing it at one stage or another for a period of time. Like bad injuries keeping players out 2, 3, 4 months. All the way back to the start of the season, by the way, when you think of Abada and people like that at the start of the season. Recruitment, which I think Rodgers has to take some sort of responsibility for. He's the manager. Recruitment's been awful. That was shown at the weekend when not one signing from this season started the match. Biggest game of the season. So he's won the league with Postecoglou's team effectively. The final factor is, and it's one people might deny or whatever, but there's been a huge hangover from Ange Postecoglou this season. First half of the season especially, I certainly felt it. I think a lot of fans felt it. It just felt like a little bit of a come down from the high of the previous 2 seasons, because the previous 2 seasons were incredible. And this season wasn't quite living up to it. And I think the players probably suffered from that a bit as well. And obviously Rodgers came back, and let's face it was quite awkward when he came back, didn't he? The way he'd left. His first press conference was he fielded questions about leaving rather than returning, and it was all quite awkward. I think it's a huge credit to him and the players that with all of that going on, and this resurgent Rangers who have barely dropped a point up until a few weeks ago under Clermont, and we've still comfortably won the league in the end. I think it's a huge credit to them, and I'm so excited for what could be to come. It seems like Rodgers may have his people in the recruitment team now. He might be winning that kind of war, so that seems positive to me. And I just think Celtic will go from strength to strength after this season. This was always going to be a pretty tough season. And I think the fact that, obviously we've still got a cup final to go, we still need to actually clinch the league. But I think, the past few months have been a real reminder that we shouldn't write this team and this manager off. And I hope, and by the way, can I just say, live on air, that I doubted this team. There was points this season when I doubted if we would win the league. I think I reached a point where I thought it would be 50-50, and I think I said that live. I said 50-50. Where I don't see a lot to be excited about, but I always had in the back of my mind, it's Celtic, it's Rodgers, they'll come good, and thankfully they have. But my point is, hopefully going forward, if we have moments like this again, generally the Celtic support will remember that this team and this manager have it within them to get things right, and maybe don't believe everything you're reading in the media about crisis at Celtic. There's been so much of that this season. Let's just remember we've got a top manager and so many good players in that team, Ryan.
We certainly do. I think the manager's the diamond of it all. Maybe Matt O'Reilly, you could say, and I know we'll get on to talk about his awards that he won just under 24 hours ago now, but Brendan Rodgers is the diamond. He's the elite part of this. He is an elite operator. He's done it in the Premier League. You know, look at apart from his last season at Leicester, he was a success. Although some people like to focus on that rather than the FA Cup that he won, especially over, who was it? Was it against Arsenal?
Chelsea, I think.
Chelsea. Still a really good result. 2 5th place finishes. You don't become a bad manager overnight, and I think the cream has risen to the top with the end of this season. You know, the business end, when you're looking to your manager to galvanise the squad and make sure that everyone's doing the right thing. Look at Celtic. Celtic are 6 points clear with 2 games to play, and they're in a cup final. Who they're probably going to be favourites going into that cup final. The way that the end of the seasons went, the galvanisation over the past 3-4. Maybe 2-3 months, ever since that Hearts game in which Rodgers called out the referees and the VAR. I think since then they've been virtually perfect, apart from dropping points against Rangers at Ibrox. If you're only going to drop points in one place, make sure it's Ibrox so that Rangers aren't getting the 3 points as well, so that both teams. Apart from that, they've been absolutely spotless, and the other side of the city have faltered in their chasing of the title. There's a reason why Celtic are on top, and it's because they can deal with these situations. They've dealt with it over the past decade, over a decade. Look at the record. Brendan Rodgers has been there the first time. He's won titles. He's here the second time. He's won titles. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited about the summer because I think Brendan Rodgers will be getting sufficiently backed. I know we've been stung with this before, but you've got to back your manager. Look at what he can do with the players that were still at the club. Bring in players that he can work with and improve. You know, bring in those £5-6 million players. Dot them about the team. This team will go places. Yes, there's some weak areas that I think were exposed at the weekend, but if you can improve upon them, improve the starting lineup, then who knows where this team can go? They could go on a run in Europe, regardless of where they're playing. I believe in this manager. I feel like I believe in him all over again. It took a while to get back on that train, but look at the evidence. He's managed to get a title win when, like you, Hamish, I thought it was 50-50, maybe even more towards the side of Rangers at one point due to momentum. But yeah, it's brilliant now. I'm just delighted where Celtic are at the moment, and long may this good feeling continue.
He's earned the right to be backed, hasn't he, Hamish?
Mm-hmm.
And if those people upstairs can't see what an elite level asset they have in the manager, then they're never going to see it. They let him walk the first time. They can't make that same mistake again. They really can't. And I think, as I've said before, I think he's getting his ducks in a row, isn't he, with these recruitment people coming in, and there's a recalibration here. This is a brand new format and a brand new tournament that Celtic are entering into, the Champions League, and you want to carry the proud name of Celtic and represent yourself and be the best version of yourselves in that elite top table at Europe. And I think that's exactly what he's planning. And I think people have seen it now. He's done it with that team. It speaks volumes that James Forrest has come in and made a difference to that team in the past few weeks. And that again, that's the indictment of the summer window and just basically your transfer windows last season. I'd like to think that it won't happen again yet. We've been stung before, but there's just a different feel to it this time, isn't there? I think all the Celtic supporters feel that, and for those in the comments saying he's not elite, I'm going to beg to differ. He is elite. That's my opinion. You're entitled to yours, but yeah, I think he's an elite level operator.
See, talking just elite level football, I personally, in the Champions League this year, I don't think Celtic were a million miles away. People look at the Atletico Madrid game, and that was a horrendous night, 6-0 I think it finished. And yeah, the end of the campaign, Lazio away was a bit dull. See, if you look at the home games, we could conceivably have taken 7 points from 9. We should have beaten Lazio. We beat Feyenoord, and we got a draw with Atletico Madrid. Those home games, especially, as I say, I don't think Celtic are quite as far away in Europe as maybe people think. Those performances were good. We just need a bit more quality in some areas. We'll need a goalkeeper. We need a left centre back for me, a left back. We'll see what happens with Matt O'Reilly. We'll probably need a winger as well. It's a few positions, but I thought... my point is, I don't think we're quite as far away of making some sort of an impact in the Champions League maybe as people think. It's not as if we lost all 6 games, in the Champions League this season. We had some good performances, some good moments in this game, in the games, and hopefully the team will be better for that. We've got 8 games next year rather than 6 in the Champions League. And the 2 additional games are against pot 4 teams, so there's an opportunity hopefully for us to pick up some points. Ryan, come in and then I'll get some comments in from people.
Yeah, I think we need Brendan Rodgers' pragmatism in Europe. I think he's a better fit for Europe than Ange Postecoglou. It's good if you've got a good side to work with in that regard that can play swashbuckling football. But if you're needing to stay behind the ball for a bit and defend, then Brendan Rodgers is your man. I think Brendan Rodgers and Celtic is a perfect fit because I think he's a very, very good manager and it's a good job for him as well. He's also got the emotional ties with Celtic. He's a Celtic supporter, so he understands it. I think it's the best. It's a great partnership between the two, and I think it's only going to blossom. Now that the awkwardness is out of the way of the first season back, look, Brendan Rodgers is back. Look at how he left Celtic the first time. Nobody really talks about that anymore. They'll be talking about the league title that he wins at the end of the season or the potential double that he gets if he beats Rangers. All of a sudden, he's the flavour of the month, the flavour of the year once again. I think everybody's now in the same boat. Everybody is used to Brendan Rodgers now being the manager of Celtic. They're enjoying him being the manager of Celtic. You're seeing some good football as well. That first goal gets me really excited for next season and what Celtic can do. Back him and allow him to play that kind of football next season, and nobody will be complaining that Brendan Rodgers is the manager of Celtic. You've got to back your man here. He's delivered. I'm not going to say like miracles or anything like that because Celtic should have won the league more convincingly. But look at the situation that they were in January, February thing. The fact that they're at the end of the season and they're going to win the league and then hopefully a cup double or the Scottish Cup to make it a double. Back him. Let's not get into that situation once again next season. Let's take it out of the realms of possibility of there being a title race next season. I want Celtic to be dominating, and I think they can dominate with that 60 million that's going to be going into the already wealthy bank accounts of Celtic. It's time to put your money where your mouth is and get the right players in and let's have a real go at Europe next season. As much as I enjoyed the 2 each game against Atletico Madrid, you want to be beating teams like Atletico Madrid when you come to Celtic Park. You want it to be a terrible place for opposition teams to go, not just domestically, but in Europe too. And I think with Brendan Rodgers at the helm, that can be a very real possibility. So that's what I want to see next season. But in order to do that, they're going to have to back their manager, and he's won the right to be backed next season, in my opinion.
Hamish, the manager saw the future in those 2 performances that you pick out, Lazio and Atletico Madrid. They've gone from a VAR offside goal to winning that match to losing it, right? They went toe-to-toe with the Italian champions, and for at least 45 minutes at Celtic Park, they went toe-to-toe with Atletico Madrid, and they played some of the best football that Celtic have played in a long time in a Champions League tie. And the manager thought, okay, that was 2 out of the kind of 6 matches, wasn't it? And I think he felt, like you were saying there, and like we were all saying, with a better quality and calibre of player, we can not only just compete in these games, we can actually go and win them. And I think that got him really excited. But all during the course of the season, key players were out injured and he could never really build any kind of momentum, which is why it's not been vintage Celtic. It's coincidental that everybody is now back and fighting fit and Celtic are producing some of their best stuff. And the manager could see that, and he saw it early doors, and he was telling people, give me time to work on this. I need certain things to fall into place. And as I said earlier as well, he has earned the right to go to the board and say, you know what, if you give me this, this and this, I can do something in this competition. I can claim some scalps. I can get you to where you want to be or take you where you want to be.
Yeah. I've just got a notification saying my laptop might turn off. It's doing an update any minute. So if it does, guys, you can round off the video. I think we're pretty much done anyway, to be honest. We've got tomorrow's video to probably look ahead to, and Wednesday as well, to look ahead to Kelly.
Yeah, need to just talk about Matt O'Reilly just for a minute or so. You know, he did a clean sweep last night of awards. Young Player of the Year. He was laughing at the fact that he was still known as a young player. Brendan Rodgers was talking about how he's still a young player because he's at the asset age. I'm like, I can tell you're the boards man for sure if he's still an asset age player. But young Player of the Year, Players Player of the Year, and actual Player of the Year. A clean sweep. I know people would say that maybe Joe Hart deserves it. That is the sort of sentimental touch. The fact that he was a togetherness throughout the season. The numbers don't lie with Matt O'Reilly this season. He's been the best player in Scotland, never mind at Celtic. I think if you're the best player at Celtic and Celtic win the league, then you are the best player in Scotland just by that token. The way that he's played this season, now I was excited for Matt O'Reilly to work under Brendan Rodgers. Was even more excited when he said that he liked, after a couple of days of pre-season training, that he liked Brendan Rodgers being about because he sat with the players at lunch and spoke with them. You knew that relationship was going to be promising when he was saying stuff like that a couple of days into pre-season training. You could see the body language had somewhat changed. He was playing with a bit more freedom. And apart from a bit of a down spell for about a month or so, I think he's been one of Celtic's most consistent players this season. Look at the numbers. He's now starting to do it in Glasgow derbies too. 2 goals in 2 games. Should have been more. Could have and should have been more. But he was unmarkable at the weekend. If there was any doubt about the player of the year at the weekend, then I think Matt O'Reilly engraved his name himself with that performance. Yeah. Unmarkable. An elite level performance from an elite operator who is destined for the very top in the game.
Yeah, fabulous from him, and a wonderful evening for him and the Celtic support at the Hydro. We'll maybe touch on that tomorrow. There's just been so much to get through today. One final shout out for this wonderful offer we have: 6 months of access for the Celtic Way for £1. And if you subscribe, or if you've already subscribed and have been a subscriber, that's the word, for a while, you'll automatically be entered into the draw to win lunch potentially with Celtic legend Martin O'Neill. Fabulous. Right, guys, thank you for your time. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back this time tomorrow.